Scott Drew, welcome to Sports Spectrum. How are you, sir?
I am doing excellent. Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for all you guys do.
Absolutely. Good to have you here. It's been 6 months or so now since you won the title as this conversation airs. I got to ask you right off the top, how quickly were you able to pivot from the enjoyment of being national champs to moving forward and preparing for this upcoming season?
Well, I was talking to Rob Pelinka from the Lakers, and he actually said, you know what? You start working on the next season the next day, but you're going to remember this championship season a lifetime. And that's basically what we've done. It's been a blessing and a privilege. God's given us a great platform, and we want to share that with as many people as possible. At the same time, coaches, once that night ends, the next day you're waking up and you're like, how do we do this again?
Absolutely. And obviously that's the goal every year as a coach. When you came in, though, it was tough sledding for a while. The first couple of years I was looking, it was 8-21, 9-19, 4-13. When you think back to those times, what did going through that do for you to be able to understand and appreciate maybe what you were able to accomplish this year?
Yeah, great way to phrase that too, because when you go through the valleys, then you appreciate the mountaintops that much more. And if I look back and actually in 2010, if we would have won it all that year, probably I would have had no idea just how hard it is to win it all, and what a blessing it is from God. And at the same time, those first couple of years, my dad, I remember he had me reading the book of Job for a reason. When you have 6-7 scholarship guys, you're just trying to survive and advance. And the great thing about winning the championship, we had invited all the past players from when we first got here and all the ones before me that laid the foundation for this championship, and got to see them all walk in the parade first since they laid the foundation, and just to see the reception they got and the pride they had and what they were able to contribute was awesome.
I loved watching after you guys won it all. And you had talked about this throughout. So this wasn't just something that you did when you were on the big stage, getting that title, but you talked about the culture of joy, Jesus, others, yourself. I got to know where that stems from and kind of the idea of joy. I mean, I know about joy, but having that become a motto and something that you're trying to fix and infuriate into your team as a culture. Tell me about that.
Well, I think first, if you look over your left shoulder, there's a picture of Dabo, and he's the one that kind of first gave us that idea of joy. We had always had a Christ-centered program, but it's so easy to remember and to spell out for your players with J.O.Y. And at the same time, then you try to accent and reward and recognize when you do play with joy and when you do honor others before yourself. And so with us, we just tried to again, each and every day when we had this platform, make sure we honor God accordingly.
That's part of the spiritual growth for your team, I have to imagine, right? Because obviously you're trying to grow as a basketball team, but there's a different intentionality, I guess, as a coach for you trying to help them grow as men spiritually too, right?
Well, and that's the great thing about Baylor. Baylor's the largest Baptist school in the nation, and denominations don't matter, but we can pray about it, pray and not get sued. And
that's right.
And so with us, Mac Rhodes, our athletic director, he calls it preparing champions for life, and it's excellence not only in athletics but spiritually, academically, and character-wise. So you want to be excellent in all 4 categories, and we all know if you're right off the court, you usually have a much better chance to be right on the court. And with us, it's a privilege and a blessing to be able to not only pour into guys character-wise, academically, and athletically, but the most important thing is winning the game of life, and that's the spiritual component.
How tough was 2019, 2020 in that year for you? You guys were having a great season, and then COVID at 26-4 kind of knocks out the NCAA tournament. And obviously you guys went on to win the title, so it ended well, but going through that must've been quite interesting for you as a coach, trying to tell your players, hey, thanks for everything, but we can't get a shot at this.
Yeah. And the irony is Baylor, we've never been ranked number 1 or seeded number 1 going into an NCAA tournament, and we're poised to be seeded number 1. And now, like you said, that's taken away. But in the moment, One thing we did was we tried to honor the seniors that weren't going to be coming back and just thank them for the 23-game win streak, the unbelievable accomplishments and records they helped set. And then at the same time, as we all know, God's plan's always the best. And partly why the guys chose to come back the next year who could have turned pro was because they had a chance to finish something that they started. So as you know, it all worked well in the end, but during that time you're like, dang, we finally get our best chance to win it all, the highest seed, and now we don't have the tournament. But thank goodness it ended well last year.
Scott Drew's our guest here on Sports Spectrum, the intersection of sports and faith. Tell me about your faith. And obviously you're doing a lot of pouring in and teaching and nurturing your players and growing them. But what about you in terms of your spiritual growth and staying fed in the Lord, and kind of what that looks like, daily disciplines for you?
Well, we all know that you can eat a great meal, but the next day you're going to be hungry. So spiritually, you need to be fed every day. And we're blessed because iron sharpens iron, and I have a staff that not only inspires and makes me a better Christian man, but we also encourage one another. We have coaches Bible study. Obviously, you start the day in prayer and devotions, and then with our players, we pray before and after practice, and usually we have opportunities to have messages for them that, as you know, if you ever teach a class, if you ever give a sermon, you actually learn more than people that are receiving it, because you have to do the research and studying. And that's what's so great about being a part of this staff and being at Baylor is you're given an opportunity to grow spiritually yourself, and that's such a blessing and a privilege. And obviously, we know 18 to 22-year-olds. It's great freedom, it's great independence, but at the same time, those are really formative years, and having a chance to pour into them and help them prepare themselves for the rest of their life's a great thing.
We talk about leadership a lot on this show. What do you think makes a great leader?
It starts with Jesus came to serve, not be served. So, I mean, servant leadership is something that we all believe in 100%. And humble and hardworking is what we try to emulate and be. And again, try to follow Jesus's lead there.
When you look back after winning, what was the coolest thing that happened after you guys won the title? You know, a moment, maybe it was even a couple months later, where you just find yourself kind of in a place where you're like, that was pretty awesome. Look what we got to accomplish, and maybe something that took place after having accomplished that.
Well, immediately, I mean, we've always closed the game and on the court praying together. And normally that's never on TV because cameras always cut away to go to the next game. But when you're the last game, there's nothing to cut away to. So I know a lot of people saw us praying, and that really had an impact on some people and meant a lot to others that never seen us play. And that was a great blessing. And we have that picture where we're in a circle down on a knee praying, and Pastor Brewer's pointing up. We have that on our gym, practice gym wall. So that was a great moment. And then from there, just opportunities to do interviews and be able to speak and go to things. I got to personally go to the K-Love fan awards and do some things like that are great opportunities for not only me, but my family or players, throwing out first pitch at baseball games, and all the other honors, seeing them get, most of them get honored at their high schools and their jerseys retired, and just different things like that. Again, we always come back to, I mean, it's God's blessing, his platform, and we just want to honor him with it.
That's really cool. Scott Drew is our guest here on Sports Spectrum. Just a couple more questions here, Coach. I got to ask you about looking back now. It's been almost 19 years or 19 seasons now. This will be your 19th, right, with Baylor, 18 years ago. Did you ever envision like God taking you from where you were when you took that job? Because there was a lot surrounding that job and all that was going on with the program back then. I remember that when I was working at ESPN, kind of covering that and all the different things that you had to kind of go through during those early years to take you where you are today, where God has brought you with Baylor. Just kind of reflect on that a little bit.
Well, I prayed about coming to Baylor, and I really felt led to come here. And I knew that there was opportunities for Baylor to really grow, and I'd seen what my dad and his staff and players were able to build, and I was able to be a part of it. Valpo, which was the largest Lutheran school in the nation, so
That's
I
right.
knew that we could do and have that success here at Baylor, and it's just great to be able to do it and allow great young Christian men to have impacts on so many future generations just by hearing their interviews and their testimonies, and having, Jared Butler won every award possible, and yet he's teaching second and third grade Sunday school at the church. I mean, different
Incredible.
things like that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Let me ask you this as we close here. The most important lesson that God has taught you since winning the national championship earlier this year, what comes to mind when you think about all that God teaches us? He teaches us something every day. When you think about the greatest lesson that he showed you in coming out on top and winning it all, what do you think that might be?
I think just knowing that it is his blessing. And what I mean by that is going into a game, you prepare your team, if you execute, you can win, but it is 353 schools. When you hear the numbers, we're the youngest staff to have won a national championship in college basketball. And it's such a rare feat. And at the same time, it's just a blessing and privilege. And we call them championship problems when we have too many things to deal with or do because of it. We're like championship problems, and it's great just seeing the excitement all of us have been able to share with each other. But I think that's probably the biggest thing is it's his blessing, because again, so rare are you able to achieve something like this, and just grateful and thankful he allowed us to do that.
Talk to any other coaches? I'm thinking Coach Bennett, maybe some other coaches that,
All of
how
them.
do we
So
defend this thing?
yeah,
What do
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
do?
Well, first of all, there's no defending because you don't start in front or
That's
ahead. We're
true.
all
That's
we're
true.
all at, we're all at the bottom of the mountain climbing again, and now we're in a position where there's only been since UCLA 2 schools that have been able to go back to back. So
Right.
I think that challenge and that opportunity are so exciting. And again, it's really hard to win one. It's almost impossible to win two, and that's why with God all things are possible, as we know. So we look forward to that challenge this year. And talking to the coaches from J.O.Y to Roy Williams to Tony Bennett, and getting to pick their brain. Obviously they've been there, done that, and want to just know best ways and best practices to help our team, and so much respect for those coaches.
Well, we're glad that college basketball is going to be back very soon. And it's been wonderful having you here, Coach. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us here on Sports Spectrum. All the best. I hope you have a great season. Maybe we'll see you back there next year, hoisting that trophy again. Thanks for being here.
Love it. Thanks for all you guys do. So appreciate you.
Absolutely.